I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to drop your like and subscribe as always. You guys really have been
Hey
supporting
Jay,
this
I had
video
to meet your
series.
friend Richard Collison because he was being a freaking very loud squeaker.
Yeah, cool. Anyway, guys, you guys have been dropping your support on these videos, and I'm gonna bring some
Turn your
more.
mic up, Jay.
And if you guys want to watch
I
these
said I
videos
was
for
about to mute him.
yourself before
Alright.
we watch them, the link will be down below. So guys, we're going to be starting the first video, and the first video is 3 real horror stories that are creepy as hell. Very descriptive on the name. I've never listened to one of these videos, so I really have no idea what it's going to be about. If I had to guess, it's going to be all random. So guys, let's get listening.
I can't hear you, Jay.
I'm joining you.
Oh, okay.
What? It says library's not joinable.
Guys, don't talk about the game.
You're in here on mine.
Stop talking about the game, please. If you are, just leave.
I'll never forget the time my sister Danielle and I were home alone one Friday night when our parents were out. I was 12 and she was 13. We have an average-sized house, but you can hear everything going on in there. For example, you could be on the top floor and hear someone talking down in the den. We were both doing our own things in our rooms upstairs. That's when I heard it. A slight tapping coming from downstairs in the den. I soon realized it sounded like tapping on the back door. I assumed it was Danielle, so I went down to the den.
I'll
It
be
was too
back,
dark
James.
outside to see who
James,
was
stop
out
it.
there,
I'll be
so
right
I
back.
flipped on the outside light.
Dude, don't join Jay.
Sister, but a random guy.
Cause
Dude, I have to.
why?
Just really quick. Just give me 1 minute, okay? You
Hurry.
like my bestest friend. I will.
Hurry up. Sorry, guys. You got a freaking chicken shit. You already have one. Guys, I'm just gonna check out my... Guys, I've been grinding this double XP weekend, okay? I've been grinding. And when I say grinding in a happy way. Bro, I already got a couple headshots with this in one game. 5 headshots, right? Okay, I might be doing this myself now because everybody... We had like 5 people in the party listening and they just all left. But anyway, guys, I've been grinding out. Okay, I got the CUDA gold. I got the VMP gold. I got the Weave gold. I got the Pharaoh gold. Man, it sucks not having proof, right? It really does. You guys shouldn't believe me, but I got the proof right here, boy. Look at our gold. Look at our gold. Look at our gold. Okay, dude. Look at our gold. And then we head over to the assault rifles. We got the KN gold. We got the HVK gold. We got the ICR gold. We got the Man of War gold. Again, you want some proof? There is all the proof you need. And guys, I know I have that thing gold because that's my favorite gun. And if you guys don't believe me that that's my favorite gun, come look at my weapons. Yeah, look how many headshots I got with the thing. Don't tell me I don't have anything with it. Okay, boy.
James,
We got Seth back in the party.
I'm not going to be able to do storytelling tonight.
Why?
What?
Why? Because you're going to join Jay and just leave me because you're chicken?
No, it's not because I'm chicken, it's because I made him sad. You kind of made him sad because you said he couldn't talk about the game, and...
How does that... Dude, he's a crybaby, dude. I don't know. Whatever, dude. Whatever, I'll do this myself. Get out of here. Whatever, dude. I don't know how that makes him sad. Just, you guys can still play, just don't talk while the story's going on. But whatever, dude. Just go join him. See ya. Peace. See ya. See ya. Bye. See ya. Play with you tomorrow or something. Bye.
Second. I'll be right back.
Alright, yeah, bye. See ya. Pussy.
Guy. He looked mid-40s, long black hair, graying a bit, red cheeks, probably 6'1". Being that this was our backyard door and some stranger was standing on the outside of it, I almost ran away. But the guy was staring at me with a kind of unintimidating look, as if he needed help. I slightly pushed the door window screen open so he could talk to me. He told me he needed to use our phone. I asked him why, and why he was in our backyard. He disregarded what I had said and pleaded. I told him sorry and asked him to leave before I would call the cops. I tried to slide the door window back up, but he actually blocked it with his arm and began reaching into my house trying to unlock the door. When I cried for my sister, the guy pulled his arm away. I ran upstairs where I met my sister halfway. She took a peek through the dense stairway to the back door and saw the guy standing there still. She called our parents. They told us to call the police and to stay upstairs. We both stayed in our rooms for a while. There was no more tapping or anything, so me being my 12-year-old self trying to be brave, I went downstairs to the den. He wasn't standing by the door anymore, but the door window was lower than when I had left it.
Oh, no.
Then I realized I didn't shut it in the first place. I walked closer to the door and then looked to my left. The door to the office was now open. I could have sworn it was shut earlier. It was too dark to see anything inside, and there was no way I was going in there. I took out my phone, opened the camera, turned on the flash, and pressed the button. As the phone took the picture, the flash from the camera provided enough light to see the guy who was standing at the door was now hunched over my office desk, and in the picture his head was turned to be facing me.
Back again?
I didn't know if he was running at me or not, but I felt like he was, and I ran upstairs and locked the den door. A familiar light tapping began coming from the den door now, and I could hear the man on the other side begging me to open it. I cried for my sister again and bluffed to the man, saying the cops were here. After that, he stopped, and I could hear the back door open and shut. It may have been stupid to say that, as it ruined any chances of the man getting caught and arrested, but it may have also saved our lives, as the cops did not arrive for another 5 minutes.
James,
What?
I might listen to one of your stories, but
Don't worry about it. Just go. Don't worry about it.
dude, I don't want to leave you behind in story time and shatter you on all your YouTubers, but Jay just said if we can't talk about the game, then he's not staying.
So you're telling me he can't shut his mouth for freaking 20 minutes? Just go. It's fine. Just go.
I'm scared of you.
I already am, so see ya. You know what? Sorry guys. Okay guys, this is story number 2 out of 3.
The story is told under the author's father's point of view. Me and my girlfriend's brother had been talking about hunting, and I decided to take him on a hunting trip. It was his first time going, so I wanted to take him somewhere where I was sure he would get a deer. So I asked my uncle if we could go to his place, and he told me we could stay there for the weekend. I told him that was perfect and that we'd stay. Me and Adam got our stuff together and headed that way. It was a secluded property right smack dab in the middle of nowhere in Braxton County, West Virginia. We got to my uncle's. He had his truck started and told them to hop in. We get in, and I asked him where we're going. He told me to my hunting cabin about 10-15 miles out. When we finally made it to the cabin, it fell below our expectations. 2 rooms, very small. As soon as we unloaded our stuff, he was gone. He told us to have fun and waved goodbye from his truck. Later, when we were getting settled for the night, we realized there were no curtains or lights, just lanterns. We didn't like being so exposed, so we hung clothes over the windows. Not long after, we climbed into bed. Then within a few minutes, there was a noise outside, like metal trash cans being banged against one another. Adam started to get paranoid until I said, "It's probably just a bear or something, go back to sleep." I told Adam, "Don't wake me up unless the cabin's on fire." I went back to sleep, at least until Adam started shaking me, saying, "Cliff, wake up, there's someone outside." "No, go back to sleep, there's no one." I stopped, because on the outside wall, besides Adam's bed, a noise, almost like someone or something was raking its claws or nails all the way down the side of the cabin and stopped at the far window. The noise was followed by tapping on the window. Neither of us wanted to move the clothes to see what it was. I told Adam to load his gun, as I did myself. We stayed up all night and left in the morning. We questioned my uncle if he was playing a trick on us. He didn't have a clue what we were talking about. The author says his dad never went back to that cabin. The picture attached was taken by his uncle before he left them, and you could see the cabin in the background.
Alright guys, that's story number 2.
I was 19 years old at the time, working at a sketchy motel. The motel was pretty run down, and the majority of people who stayed there were locals that were just doing things they weren't supposed to be doing. Let's just say the cops came by multiple times a week. I worked as both a front desk person, checking in these creeps all hours of the night, and as a housekeeper who got to clean up their nasty, vomit-smelling rooms afterwards.
That must suck.
One afternoon, I was working as a housekeeper in the second building of the motel on the backside furthest from the office. I hated working over there because it not only had the most worn-down rooms, but it was always pretty vacant over there and way too quiet for comfort. I began cleaning one of my last rooms and wanted to get done in a hurry because it was getting late. I was washing the mirror in the room that I was cleaning when all of a sudden I saw a man in the reflection staring at me. He was mid-50s, dirty, with long, greasy hair. Startled, I screamed, "Oh my God." I told him he scared me. The room I was currently cleaning was vacant, so there was no reason why this man should have been in there watching customer satisfaction, and my boss was really pressuring us to be more polite and help the guests any way we could. Sir?" I asked him cautiously. Can I get you anything? Towels?" The man just stared back at me with a crooked grin and held out his hands to me. I thought maybe he was handing me a tip for cleaning his room earlier, but when I looked down, I saw he was holding a $100 bill. Alarms started going off in my head. No one tips $100 on a $40 a night room. The man just smiled and said his name was Terry. He said he was staying in the room next door with his wife Sherry and sort of joked about their names rhyming. He smelled like car oil and alcohol. When I asked him why he was trying to hand me $100, he laughed deep in his throat and said, "Me and my wife were watching you, and we just wanted to have fun with you."
Huh?
I felt like my heart jumped into my throat. No, I can't do that, sir. I'm sorry." I wanted to run out of the room screaming, but he was blocking the door, my only exit. The man smiled again, taking on a softer tone of voice, and invited me to come into his room to meet his wife, just to talk as friends. I nervously told him no again, and that I had a lot of work to do for the day. I prayed to God he would just go away, and eventually he did. He grunted and walked off in what I assumed to be the direction of his room. My mind began racing. There is no wife, I thought. This man could try and kidnap me. I was 110 pounds at the time and not very strong. He could easily overpower me. I locked the room from the inside and went directly to the phone to call my manager at the front desk, but the phone wasn't working. Adrenaline began pumping through my veins, and despite what I was always told not to do, I was panicking. Did he cut the line? No, I thought. This is a crappy motel. It happens all the time. But I just have to get out. I remembered that I had my cell phone out on my housekeeping card, but that was outside the locked door. I'd have to open the door to get it. I cautiously opened the door to the room that I was cleaning and peered out. I didn't see anyone, so I frantically began searching my card for my cell phone. I was wasting too much time looking for it, so I just decided to run as fast as I could and make a break for the front desk in the office. Then from behind me, I heard the man again, But this time he was screaming to someone else, "She's running, she's getting away." I could hear his shoes slamming against the pavement after me. I quickly turned the corner, grabbed my key card, and let myself into a stockroom and locked the door. Within moments, I heard the sound of the dirty guy and someone else running outside, searching for me. I stayed in that stockroom for 30 minutes shaking until I could no longer hear him searching for me. I finally got the courage to run the rest of the way to the front desk. When I made it there, I collapsed into my boss's arms and he called the police. The man and whoever else was in the room with him peeled out before the cops could arrive, and I was beyond shaken up. According to the police who ran the search, this wasn't the first time he had done something like this, and he was actually wanted for sexual assault, gross sexual imposition, and in the past was once charged with rape. A few weeks later, on what happened to be my birthday, this guy was caught. A few weeks after that, I quit. I will never again work at another motel.
Okay, guys, that is it for that video. We still have 2 more videos to go through. I hope you guys are enjoying this so far. Make sure if you're enjoying it, drop a like and subscribe as always. And guys, this is one that I have a problem with because I used to be a Boy Scout, and you know, I only did Boy Scouts until I was maybe in 2nd grade, so I never really got to do any of the camping trips. But now that I think about it, just because, I mean, the stories don't bother me, but like, you know, it could happen to me. But this is 3 creepy, oh man, I'm tired. 3 creepy true Boy Scout camp out horror stories. I've listened to this one personally, but I could always listen to it again just for you guys.
This experience happened many years ago. I'm 23 now, but I grew up a Scout. I started with the Cub Scouts, then transitioned to the Boy Scouts, and eventually earned the accomplishment of becoming an Eagle Scout. Throughout my years as a Scout, I've been on countless campouts. Many friends came and went as kids quit the Scouts throughout the years. But one friend who stuck it through the whole way with me was Justin. Me and Justin were in the same grade, and we were close friends. At the time of this experience, we were both going to be entering 10th grade, 15 years old. As weird as it sounds, I honestly don't even remember what park we were camping out at. It was just too long ago. As soon as everybody had arrived, Scoutmaster Davis led the group on our hike to the campsite. After setting up our tents and having a quick snack, Scoutmaster Davis led us on another hike as the sun was starting to set. He liked to take us on hikes in the dark as he thought it taught good directional skills. On the way back, we had to use our flashlights since it was getting too dark. Mr. Davis played a little game to mess with the younger kids, acting like we were lost and they had to find the way back. He had one of the younger kids start to lead the way back, but the kid soon froze in his tracks and looked to Mr. Davis, claiming he heard something. Mr. Davis acted all forest rangery, stepping forward and making a listening motion. Me and Justin laughed out loud, and he shushed us. There was another sound, a very obvious step from a larger creature in the distance. Kids were shining their flashlights all over the place. Mr. Davis assured us it's okay as long as we make a lot of noise to keep any potential predators away. I gotta admit, it was a bit scary hearing him say that. Mr. Davis led the way back from there on out, but on several occasions, either me, Justin, or some other kid would point out steps coming from behind us. Clearly something was following us. Mr. Davis told us to just stay with the group and not to refrain from making noise. We got back to the campsite, where we cooked a couple turkeys, popped open a few cans of corn, and then sat around the campfire, where Mr. Davis began telling his famous stories. However, it was interrupted by footsteps circling around the campfire. Scouts started turning around, looking into the woods. Even the Scoutmasters looked at each other. Assistant Scoutmaster Roberts hopped up, said, "All right, this'll scare him off," and went for the gun in his tent. He pulled out his rifle and fired a shot into the air. We didn't hear any more footsteps after that. After a whole hour of listening to Mr. Davis's stories, Scouts started heading to their tents. Me and Justin were in the same tent, and knowing how early the Scoutmasters made us get up, we didn't really joke around for too long. The only sounds now were the crickets and the crackling of the fire outside. I fell asleep quickly, given how exhausted I was from all the hiking, but woke up to Justin nudging me. When my senses came to, I listened and heard footsteps coming from outside the tent. The campfire was still lit outside, and it created a glow on the tent walls. But it also allowed us to see the shadow outline of what was outside. A person. I whispered, "So what? It's probably someone just going to take a piss." He told me to open the zipper and peek outside. I did what he said, and to my horror, there was some heavy-built man with a sack over his head and a ripped working shirt, very clearly holding a big knife. He was walking around some of the other tents. I zipped the opening back up and told Justin to be quiet. We had no phones or anything, so we couldn't call one of the scoutmasters. All we could do was wait. We couldn't tell if or when the man had left. We just sat there for what felt like hours, waiting, and eventually we fell asleep. We awoke to one of the scoutmasters blowing that stupid wake-up horn. Me and Justin were surprised that we even fell asleep given the situation, but we immediately went to go tell our scoutmasters what we saw. All three of them took our claims very seriously and wanted to make sure we weren't joking. They had no choice but to tell everyone to pack up and call their parents to get a ride home within 3 hours. Now this is the really weird part. Two of the younger kids in the group had their entire bags stolen, which mainly contained their clothing. When the scoutmasters went to investigate around their tents, we were all disturbed to see that there had been tiny holes carved into the tents, big enough for someone to look into. And that's exactly what the holes were for. The scoutmasters reported the incident to the town in which the park resides. It still horrifies me, given how real the situation was for me, that somebody literally followed us into the middle of the woods, spied on two 11 or 12-year-old kids while they slept, stole their clothes, and did whatever else. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, but the incident overall hurt the group, as some parents refused to allow their kids to go on any more campouts. It's sad that some sick people out there can really ruin things for a lot of other people. I'm a 15-year-old Boy Scout from Houston,
Second
Texas.
story.
My troop flew us out to Denver, Colorado, and we drove to a camp called Camp Alexander, about 45 minutes away from Colorado Springs. Me
I actually
and
know
four
where
other
that
people
is.
on our troop were participating in the high adventure program that the camp offers. This basically means that we were doing things like climbing mountains and white water rafting.
That's
4
fun.
days
I've
into our
whitewater
trip
rafted
and
before.
nothing
It's
has happened
fun.
to us. We set up our tents next to the Arkansas River, as we would be rafting in it the next day. I sleep very poorly in sleeping bags, and had been waking up covered in sweat every night, and that night was no different. I woke up with my face in a puddle of drool and sweating all over my body. I checked my watch, and it was around 3:45 a.m. I decided that it would be best for me to step out of my tent for a while and cool down. I put on a shirt and shorts and unzipped my tent. The way my tent was positioned, the opening was facing towards the river, and I immediately noticed that there was someone standing in the middle of the river facing downstream. The water was about waist high and 30 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and whoever was standing in there didn't have a shirt on, so I was extremely confused. After a moment of staring, I realized that I knew this person. He was my friend, who I'll be referring to as Dalton for privacy reasons. I called out for him 2 times before he finally moved. He looked right at me, and then he looked around as if he were processing the situation. He yelled at me, "What the fuck?" He ran back to the shore as fast as he could. I grabbed him a towel and shirt and asked him what the hell he was doing in the middle of the river at 4 in the morning. He answered saying that he didn't know, and that he had just woken up to me yelling at him in the middle of the river. I don't know how he got there, or if he sleepwalked or something like that, but it was seriously creepy. Nobody believed us in the morning, and we just decided to forget about it. Dalton said he had never sleepwalked before or anything like that, so I have no idea why or how he would have gotten into that river. All I know is if I didn't wake up that night and get out of the tents, my friend Dalton might have been dead come morning time. This is going to be a brief, horrifying, 100% true story of mine. I was 13 years old and one of the quieter kids in my Boy Scout troop. I'm not totally a shy person, but I could hikes. I was trailing behind the group as I usually did. I had this sudden...
What? Never mind, guys. Never mind. It was a joke. It was a joke. No, one of my friends just texted me, "You're gay," and I'm like, "What the fuck did I do?" Alright, we're good.
Urge to pee, so I let the group get a little further ahead, and then went behind a tree. I almost had a heart attack as something made a heavy thud on the ground not too far away from me. It didn't sound like a stick or branch falling. It sounded like something putting its foot down into the leaves. I didn't know what to think. All I know is I was freaked out. I ran to catch up to the group. I had no idea what just happened, so I didn't want to tell anybody about it. I'll skip ahead to that night when I was trying to fall asleep. I had my own tent, as did some of the other kids in our tiny little troop, so I tried to go to sleep right away. A strange noise soon interrupted the silence, however. It sounded like breathing coming from a phone or something, and it seemed to be coming from inside my bag. After digging through my bag, I pulled out a big, heavy walkie-talkie. The only thing, I didn't bring or own that. Suddenly, in a deep, almost muffled voice, someone said into the walkie-talkie, "I'm watching you, kid." I pressed down the talk button and said, "Who is this?" One of the other kids were clearly pranking me. There was no response, only this sudden static. "Is this Mike?" There was silence. And then... "I'm right outside your tent." The fabric of the tent suddenly started pushing in on me as something from outside was pushing into it. I screamed like a baby, and that's when whoever was outside ran into the woods. Two of my scoutmasters came rushing into the tent. I could barely even breathe, but I somehow managed to show them the walkie-talkie and explain what just happened. They lectured the kids for a few minutes, thinking it was one of them messing with me, but when I calmed down, I stepped in and told them that the voice was way too deep for it to have been any of them. We were all forced to share tents with two others that night, and the next day, we packed up and moved to a nearby campsite with another Boy Scout troop. I really don't know what they did with the walkie-talkie. I was emotionally disturbed, embarrassed, and I just wanted to go home. I convinced my parents to let me quit Boy Scouts after that incident. It was by far the scariest experience of my life.
Okay, guys, that is it for that story. We have one more story to go. And this is 4 true terrifying... Huh? What about it? What? Okay, guys. This is 4 true terrifying Christmas time stories.
So we were having our Christmas Eve dinner. Turkey, stuffing, and other dishes that you would expect to get on Thanksgiving night. We don't have a big family. It was my grandparents and uncles from my mom's side of the family. At the time, we lived in a duplex with some guy and his girlfriend on the other side. We never really saw them much.
Hey,
Strangely, we had a door that connected our
What?
sides. And no, that's not something that most
what is your
duplexes have.
problem?
You keep ruining the story. Just go play with. I'll be in the party
Now,
after the
what
stream
is
is
your
over.
problem?
My problem is freaking Jay left just because dude, all he could have said was you don't want to listen to the story and just get out. You know? And instead he had to make a big deal about it and freaking be a little crybaby about it.
Well, what is your problem? You left in a jiffy. Like, all Jay wanted to do was talk about the game, and you...
Yeah, but it ruins the story.
Can we just do like a stream on Black Ops?
No, I'm finishing this myself and then I'll play with y'all later. Peace. Alright, guys. Alright guys, I have a private party now, so we don't have to worry about that until the end of this video. Okay guys, let's just listen to this.
Kind of locked though. It had to be unlocked for both sides to be opened, and it could open in either direction. I only saw it open once before the two moved in, ever since the door had been locked, at least on our side. While we were sitting at the dinner table eating, the doorknob to the door that separates the sides of our duplex twisted and turned before the lock would block it. It was not accidental, as it was going on for at least 10 seconds. My dad got up and walked over to the door, placed one hand on the lock and one hand on the doorknob. "You need something?" There was no answer. He unlocked our side of the door and swung it open. Their side of the duplex was completely pitch black. It seemed as if nobody was home. It was only about 6 o'clock, and we were certain we saw them leaving earlier. Me and my dad went to check out the window, and their car was gone too. Being good neighbors, we assumed the worst, that there may have been an intruder. So me, my dad, and my uncle went to the other side to investigate. We flipped on all the lights and checked every corner and every crevice of the small first floor. Then we heard a thud and a crack from upstairs. There was pressure on the floorboards. I was freaked out, so I stayed behind while my dad and uncle ran upstairs. I felt my heart skip a beat when a huge commotion erupted from upstairs, before the scream from my uncle echoed across the duplex, even to the other side, as my whole family got up from the table now. Moments later, my dad came rushing down with my uncle beside him, with his hand covering his lower shoulder or chest area. There was a stab wound. We all hurried back to our side of the apartment and locked the door. We dialed 911 and simultaneously heard rapid stomping coming from the other side, and then heavy banging and ramming into the door to the point where there were small chips and cracks forming. We could hear the grunting and screaming of the man as he rammed into the door. My other uncle and my dad each grabbed kitchen knives. I armed myself as well. They told all of us to stand back while they waited by the door. Thankfully, the man on the other side gave up before the door gave in, and we heard him exit out the front door. We watched through the window, and we all saw his face as he ran through the snow and turned to see us through the glass. He took off in his black Honda Civic down the slushy roads. It doesn't end there. The following year, the same neighbors still lived there, and they seemed to be having a Christmas get-together with a few people. By chance, I was looking out my bedroom window, being a sketchy snoop, when I recognized one of their guests to be the same man who had allegedly broken into their side of the duplex. When I told my dad, he agreed, and we approached them about it. He denied any knowledge of what we said, and even our neighbors defended him, saying he was from out of state. There was nothing we could do for proof, but we knew one thing. Those neighbors, for whatever reason, set that up. We moved out about a month later after our new-grown fear of those neighbors became too much. This happened when I was only 5 years old. It was Christmas Eve night, meaning I guess it was technically Christmas, and I had awoken at probably 3 a.m. or something. I walked downstairs to the living room out of my little boy curiosity to see if Santa had delivered any presents yet. The tree was full of presents underneath already. I was so happy. Santa had come already. But what was this? There was someone in the kitchen going through the fridge. I remember stepping into the kitchen and seeing a really tall man going through the fridge, chugging a milk carton. When he spotted me, he put the carton back in the fridge and shut the door. He then put his fingers on his lips to tell me to be quiet. Are you Santa? I asked him. Yes, I am, he told me quietly. He walked past me, patted me on the head, and stepped into the living room next to the tree. I don't know what I was thinking, even at 5 years old, as he wasn't wearing anything even resembling Santa. He looked around at all the gifts. I thanked him for all the presents as he began picking up the bigger boxes. I remember being confused, and I'm pretty sure I asked him why he was doing what he was doing, but I don't remember exactly what he said. I believe it was along the lines of, just replacing the gifts with better ones in my sled. I believed whatever he said, though. He walks out the back door with 3 boxes, came back momentarily to grab more, then left once again. He came back in and patted me on the back and told me not to tell my parents that I saw him. I smiled and agreed, and he took off with the boxes. I waited for him to come back with the replacement gifts, but he never did. I eventually went up to tell my parents despite what he said. When my parents realized I wasn't joking, they sat up in shock and fear and ran past me downstairs. When they saw half the presents were gone and the back door was left wide open, my mom screamed like a deranged person. I remember my parents were practically scolding me, demanding for me to describe the person who entered our house. Of course, being 5 years old, the description I gave was anything but useful. All I probably told them was that he was tall. It's been almost 50.
Hold up, guys. What? What's up? Huh? No, it's not up. I was gonna put that up tomorrow morning. Alright. No, cause I already have a stream and a video planned for today, so. Alright, I'll send it to you in a minute. I'm almost done with my stream, alright? Alright, bye. Sorry about that, guys. I have a funny video for tomorrow, so just get ready for it. Alright, guys, let's continue.
Years now, though, and at this point for me, being that I was only 5 years old, it's nothing but a story to tell, rather than a bad memory at all. Did you ever used to have a fear of those guys who would dress up as Santa Claus in the mall or at Christmas parties? Up until the age of about 8, I certainly did. I think I was 6 or 7 years old when me and my mom were walking through the mall with all the Christmas festivities and decorations up. Festive bands playing jingle bells, a giant tree in the center of the mall, and of course a mall Santa sitting in a chair covered by a green blanket. There was a small line of kids and parents waiting to sit on the Santa's lap. Maybe 2 or 3 kids. My mom insisted I sat on his lap. Normally it would be the other way around, the kid begging the parent to sit on the lap. But she knew how shy I was. There wasn't anyone by the mall Santa's side, like one of those people who calls the next child up. It was just him. When I sat on the stranger's lap, he grabbed me by the chest and said softly in my ear, "What do you want for Christmas?" I think I said a Game Boy Advance. He laughed and assured me I would receive one. Then, for whatever reason, my mom walked up to the Santa and said something quietly to him. He chuckled in response to whatever she said, and then said no problem. My mom told me to wait there by the Santa for a few minutes until she came back. At this point, there were no more kids waiting to sit on his lap, so his attention was directed at me. He told me to come over and sit on his lap again. I somehow obeyed, despite my fear of Santa Claus. When I sat on his lap, he pulled me closer to him so that my back was leaning on him. When I think back on this moment now, it's all the more painful and creepy. He then whispered in my ear that he had a Game Boy Advance outside by his sled, and if I followed him, I would get it right now and wouldn't have to wait until Christmas.
Oh my god.
My fear suddenly turned to excitement as I believed him. We both stepped off the chair, and I followed him down one of the exit hallways. But halfway through, he stopped and told me we should take a bathroom break first. We stepped into the bathroom, and he quickly locked the door.
Hold up, guys. I'm calling molesting or rape. Calling it. Calling it.
I turned and looked at him as he looked at me. But before anything else could happen, there was a frantic banging at the door. Somebody on the other side was yelling to open up. The Santa opened the door, and a man pulled him out and shoved him. The man then escorted me back to the center of the mall, asking me where my mom went. I watched as a fake Santa casually walked out the exit door and out of my sight. When my mom came back, the man explained everything. I'm pretty sure he was watching the whole time.
Who's a sex offender?
So he and my mom asked around to see if the mall hired any mall Santas for the day. They did not. Whoever that was just a pervert dressed as Santa to get kids to sit on his lap and possibly wait for a perfect opportunity to snatch one, just like he almost did me.
Ha, I told you. Alright, this is the last one, guys.
It took place about 5 years ago on Christmas Eve night. It was around 1 in the morning, and I had just finished placing presents under the tree. I went upstairs to brush up and everything, then came back downstairs to the kitchen to get a glass of water before bed. My son Jake, who was 4 at the time, was standing by the stairs leading to the basement. I asked him what he was doing up so late. He pointed down the stairs and said, "Santa." I picked him up and carried him back to his room. I took a glass of water and went to bed. I woke up around an hour later to my son running down the hall outside my room.
Peacekeeper.
I sighed and got out of bed. As I was going down the stairs, I saw Jake by the tree looking at presents. Then he ran past me into the basement stairs again. He pointed down the stairs again. This time I looked down the stairwell, and my heart dropped as I saw a black figure sitting on the bottom step. I almost screamed, but I somehow held it in. I pulled my son quietly away from the basement door and closer to the front door of the house. I moved my hand away from my son's mouth to reach for the lock in the doorknob. I tried to pull the door open as quietly as possible, but it was pointless. The squeaky hinges let out the usual ear-piercing screeches, and I cringed in my mouth and eyes as I did. Suddenly, there were heavy stomps coming from up the basement stairs. I screamed and pushed open the storm door and practically threw Jake outside. I shut both doors behind us and we ran to the neighbor's house. I rang the doorbell as fast as possible, probably 30 times before they answered. After that, we went inside and stayed there and waited for the police. Whoever that person was gone, though, as determined after the police conducted a thorough investigation of the house. I ended up lying to Jake, telling him that actually was Santa Claus. But a few years later, he remembered the incident and became a little more wise to what actually happened.
Okay, guys, that wasn't bad. I'm kind of getting used to this. Like, not that it wasn't that bad, but just that normally I wasn't too used to it, and I was really a wussy about watching it. But now, it's just something here, really. But yeah. Alright, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream tonight, and like I said, I got a special video planned for tomorrow. It's not a special video, it's just something funny, just a nice little shout out. Just so, you know, one of my friends can get started on his YouTube channel, because, you know, right now he's looking pretty garbage. So, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed today's stream. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe, and peace. Bye.